Yeah, I'll set the show on the road. So I'm going to be adding in Phil Daru in a minute um, for probably about a 30-minute podcast. Obviously, I've got a few questions for him lined up. I have hosted Phil many a times, so fingers crossed we can get him involved. Was meant to podcast at 9, but obviously time is a little bit off every now and then. So yeah, I'm going to send him a request now and let's get this live going. This will also be on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. YouTube will be with video. Hopefully after this I'll get it uploaded straight away. Yo,
What's up, man?
represent with the shades.
Yeah, I'm in Florida, bro.
You're not driving, are you?
Yeah, it's about, how many degrees? It's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Shit, man. Hot.
It's hot. Hot.
Not like this English weather, man. We're freezing our asses off over here.
Yeah,
It's all good.
yeah, man. We don't have seasons over here. It's just hot all the way through.
So basically, obviously, you've been on the podcast before, so I'm not going to run you through the formalities. And if people do follow the podcast, they'll know the rundown anyways of who you are and your story, and your followers will know who you are. So basically, if you're not a fan of the JB podcast or Phil Daru's content, fuck you and follow me and check it out.
Exactly.
So give me a rundown anyways of the life of Phil currently. What's been going on? What's changed since we last spoke?
A lot, really. I just had surgery, ACL reconstruction, and had a slight meniscus tear. So it's my knee right now, wrapped up, and walking through it now. I actually have one of my guys driving me because I had to get down to the gym, and I had surgery on Wednesday. So, we're kind of fresh off the surgery. I had a couple of guys fighting. That's why I wasn't able to make it 30 minutes prior, but I got guys fighting next week for Bellator and in the UFC, and so I mean they got one last hard push with me. So I wanted to make sure that I got down here, at least to show them off. You know what I mean? For the last session of the training camp. So that's primarily what we've been doing. I just put out a new program. It's an app actually. Follow along. That's in partnership with Train Heroic. So it's an off-camp GPP based program. So it's like 22 weeks long, and then you have access to me. You get like full access, questions and answers, and things of that nature. And so each week we stay accountable in a group chat on the app itself. Mm-hmm. And right now I think it's 100% off, so you can get that now. It's on my website and also on my bio. So if you go in there and click the link, and you'll find that. You know about the new gym? So we just opened up. Well, not just opened up. About maybe 4 or 5 months ago. We just opened up my facility. I'm no longer with ATT anymore. But now, we got the guys from. We also got guys from Sanford MMA and American Top Team as well. So coaching those guys up. Primarily, that's my main focus is obviously combat sports, but we also have youth baseball, high school, college. We have a couple of high school football players that come in too as well in the local high school. So, I mean, working through, several different sports at the moment. But again, like I said, my prime focus is combat sports. So that's primarily what we're working on, and also the mentorship program with all the coaches around the world. And that's really my main thing that I'm doing outside of just coaching myself is working with other coaches around the world and getting them as much knowledge and information as possible that I've gathered over, a decade and a half of me training and competing and things of that nature. So that's what's going on so far.
Yeah, man. What's your mentoring program entail? Out of curiosity, and for obviously those listening as well that may want to hop on.
Yeah, it's almost morphed into like a certification course because we do have an exam at the end, and you have pretty much every detailed information that I've gathered over the years, and then some. You get all my protocols, all the methods that I use, a lot of my seminars that I've done over the years and around the world. You get access to that. You get access to me every other weekend we go on a 1.5 hour Zoom call, and I do a Q&A with all of the coaches there, and then you'll get access for life. So it's a one-time cost, one-time fee, and again you'll have access to the portal for however long you want it. So again, very affordable in my opinion, but the amount of knowledge and information that you're getting, not just from me, but things that I've gathered over with other individuals that I truly respect in the game, also were gracious enough to give me information, and so that I put that out there for the coaches that are on the mentorship. So eventually we're going to make it an accredited certification and a CEU, but yeah, that's what we're working towards. So I'm thinking maybe next year sometime we'll make it a CEU, and then it'll be a nationally accredited certification too as well.
Nice, man. Making moves and as well as educating people, but making sure with that exam at the end that they are kind of educated and preaching the knowledge to a higher standard, rather than, we see a lot of shitty PTs out there who've just learned their trade through, I don't know, fucking Instagram, and they've never really been educated, and then people get injured and stuff like that. So it's good that you're kind of lecturing people in that way and mentoring people in that way, I think.
Yeah, it's fun, man. With other coaches, what's so funny now that I have so many coaches that I'm blessed to have, and I'm super humbled by it. But some of my guys that I help coach, or some of the coaches that I'm consulting for are fighting some of my guys. So the guys that they coach are actually fighting some of my guys. So I'm running into that issue. It's not a bad issue to have. It's just funny to me that with the level of MMA and how coaches are taking it to the next level, with the people that they're working with, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. I told you it's not going to be the first time, nor will be the last. But it is interesting when I have a coach that I consult for. Their fighter's fighting my fighter, so there's always a competition there. We always talk shit to each other, but it's fun.
So how was your breakaway from American Top Team then? Was it clean, cool, no hard feelings? Because obviously you've moved to your own sort of centre now, doing your own thing.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I've been there for such a long time. It was just my time to leave, and that's pretty much it. And at the end of the day, they're gonna be top team no matter what. So it wasn't no hard feelings or anything like that. And even I had to talk with the owner, and he was saying the same thing. It's like he didn't expect me to be there for my entire life. People have to evolve and grow and progress. That was the main thing. Is I just wanted to be able to work with other athletes, not just MMA guys out of ATT. And don't get me wrong, I love ATT. It's still my home as far as how I started MMA. Time to move on and time to evolve, and that's what I did.
How do you feel you grew so much on social media, by the way, in the recent years? You've blown up very quickly. How have you managed to do that? What do you find? What do you think people have been attracted to with your content and so on?
I mean, it's real. I'm not faking anything. I'm actually working with these individuals. So it's not like I'm faking, putting photo shoots together or video shoots. It's real time, real live training sessions, and then on top of the fact that I've been in I've fought before. I've been in the trenches with them guys, some of them, as a fighter myself. So I think that has something to do with it. I think that I can not only show people that I know what I'm doing, but I can also act upon it. So again, me showing by example, with the training that I do, does help me set myself apart from the rest. And then obviously knowing from a combat sport perspective, knowing the fight game in general, I think that does help too as well with fighting with other fighters, just for the simple fact that I know how to scrap, at the end of the day. But I'm not saying that I'm the best fighter in the world, but I am saying that I've been in their position and I know how they feel in certain aspects of the game and how they feel in camp and how they feel cutting weight. So that does play a big role. But when it comes down to content, the content primarily is the game, and that it's real. Like I said, it's real time. I'm not sitting up there being okay, what should I put out next on IG that is going to be groundbreaking and so, I don't want to say I'm trying to break the mold or start a new concept or anything like that. But when I feel something that is important that can help an individual, then I'm going to put it out there. And it could be something as simple as today, a tire flip. I put out a recent video in IG that was a recycled video from my YouTube channel, but it's just a simple tire flip. But again, people they underestimate the usage of it. So it's like you can take something as simple as that and use it for so many different modalities that can help an individual and increase their performance. So I think maybe that's it. And then, I don't know, man. Maybe people like my beard and my tattoos. I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that clearly shows in what you're posting and kind of what you're doing is like, well, two of the things is like you're authentic, and like your passion comes across. Like you always look like you're kind of one of the hardest workers. Do you know what I mean? In the coaching game, you always look like you're busy doing things, and I think those two qualities attract a lot of people because they know that there's no kind of bullshit with you. This is what you're getting, and this is how it's done, and I'm going to say it as it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people try to, again, do something on there that's going to turn heads and make something more extravagant or ordinary than it has to be. That if you keep it simple to a degree, and then that'll make the exercise better, then that's fine. I don't see a big issue with that. It's when I do things that just don't really make any sense. It's kind of I don't know. It just doesn't sit like true training. Like you know that's not really what you're gonna put into a program to help an athlete. Why put it out there? Because you know a lot of people are gonna look at programs, they're gonna look at people's content that they feel like that they respect, and they look for information, and they go out there and do that, but they never have a baseline of understanding how to move weight or move load and don't have the joint progression that. So I think, again, keeping it as simple as possibly can, and then growing and adding onto that, which makes a good way to put out information. And there's two people in the world of social media, in my opinion, is you got the coaches that are putting stuff online, and then you got the online coaches. And I think that true coaches out there and true trainers out there that are actually putting out information online, but they really do it in real life. That's the people that you look at, as opposed to just online coaches or online putting things out there. I'm not talking about like remote coaching. I'm not talking about online programming. That's a little different, and that can get skewed a lot because you're not there fully coaching the athlete, in real time. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a true difference there. That's why I don't really like doing a whole lot of online coaching or online programming, because of that fact. I don't get that attention with that athlete. I don't feel what that athlete is feeling. I don't get to sit there and be able to watch him with my eyes in real time. That's something that I take in more consideration, because of the fact that I can actually help that individual a little bit more if I'm there with them one-on-one. But yeah, getting back to the coaching and the coach that puts stuff online, that was the content thing. That's where it gets skewed a lot, is where those coaches or those individuals are just putting things out there so that they can get likes and views. And the coaches like Rico and those guys out there that are putting things online now that has been coaching for the longest time, they're putting things out there that they don't have worked before, not something that they think to get likes and views and clicks on that. I think that's where you have to have that defining line. If you are a coach out there, man, don't be discouraged about putting things on social media. Just again, be authentic. Be transparent on what you do.
Yeah. So what programs are you offering at the moment? Because obviously I know you've got quite a wide range. Obviously I don't expect you to list off like all of them, but your main kind of pushing points at the moment.
I mean, right now, obviously, Body Armor. That's the 8-week body only program, because of the fact that a lot of people can't get to the gym. I think the main focus, like with the pandemic and everything, a lot of people still don't have access to a gym or weight at all. So I came together with my digital team, and we put together this program. Like, all right, I know that this is going to be something that people are going to need, and it's helped out a lot. It's helped out a lot of individuals that don't have a gym. So that's Body Armor. It's an 8-week body weight only program. Um, it has two versions of it. Like again, the one version is going to be primarily focusing on strength endurance, and the other one is going to be focused on ballistics and plyometrics. But
Nice.
combined in one program. Um, and again, it's a conjugate style. But again, we're not talking about West Side. There's a difference between West Side training and conjugate, where conjugate is bringing up all modalities in one, but all methods in one. So that's what we're primarily doing. We're working on strength endurance, hypertrophy, and explosive power, and we're doing that throughout the week. But it's all body weight, so you can use. You don't have any. You don't really. The only thing I would say that you want to invest in is something that you can use for a pull-up bar, or something along the lines of that, because you are going to have to work the posterior chain. You're going to have to work your pulling muscles. So if you can get either a light or a heavy band, like a company like Elite FTS, or just get a like a wall mount pull-up bar, that would help out a lot. If not, sleds are very cheap. They're like $75. There's a couple of companies. Elite FTS is one of them. Rogue Fitness is one of them. So you can get those. Those are pretty cheap. And then you have some weight place links get from like eBay or Craigslist or something like that. That's something that you want to look for. But the program itself, again, you don't really need a whole lot of equipment. You don't need actually any equipment. You just need a pull-up bar if you have it. If not, just give me a DM and I can show you how to alter if you need to. And then the other thing we just launched is the body, or not the body, the off-kick program, which is, we call it fight dominant. Basically, what we're trying to do is get you in a good position to be dominating in your camps and in your fight itself. So it's setting the baseline of strength capacity, joint integrity, and overall condition, so that when you get into a camp, you don't have to, get ready. You're almost there, ready to go. The problem with a lot of the guys, and that's coming from experience, is that they're coming to, let's say, for instance, coming to an American Top Team, and they're only starting 8 weeks out, and they've never did that type of general physical preparedness, or got their body to a position where they can withstand the load of training, skills training, and physical preparation combined. They're going to be taxed. Their first week, they're going to overtrain because their body's not used to it. So what we're trying to do is set the baseline ready, so that once they get in the game, they can hit full go and not have to worry about fatigue or getting tired or getting sore. Their body is capable of withstanding that pressure and that energy. So that's why we put it together. And then again, the mentorship program, that kind of encompasses everything that I put together. That you'll get all the access to my program as well, and then again, all the methods and all the protocols, which I feel is it's always going to grow. It's ever evolving, because again, everything that I've learned, I'm going to put into that portal that they get. And we also have a WhatsApp group chat. So guys are actually sharing knowledge together. So it's like a community at this point of around 300 coaches that are all sharing information with each other. So that's one thing that I'm super proud about. I was able to put together this community, not just me being on top of the mountain saying you should do this, you should do that. It's not even like that. I'm giving you examples, and I'm giving you some information that you can take with you. But again, it all depends on your situation, circumstance. And also, again, we get to communicate with each other. So there's a lot of high-level coaches in there that get to communicate back and forth and share information and their experience with what they've done in the past. So everybody grows together, and that's why I'm so proud of that particular program that we have.
No, exactly. You're bringing people together, and I think that's quite important as well with the sharing of information, because it's how everyone grows. Like it's how we learn off each other. I'm having a conversation with you now. I'm learning from you. You're learning fuck all from me, but that's great, but it don't matter. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with that group and that community and that vibe. And I think when you start building that community and that kind of team bonding, togetherness, like that helps, again, that mentor program grow, that business ship grow, and everyone kind of feels like, we're learning and progressing somewhere, which I think's, a good thing to do. It's kind of the number one fundamentals for me when I talk to people about sort of how to grow a team, how to grow a business and stuff like that. It's about having that network of people together and educating them, and then sometimes they end up educating you.
Yeah.
So you did a test with Paige Van Zandt recently. I saw. What was that about, and what was it to do with?
Well, Paige is obviously going into bare knuckle fighting, so she's actually hooked up with Maureen Shea, and so Maureen's actually running her boxing, and so she's with us for that. Obviously, if she's going to train for boxing and she's with Maureen, then she's going to start training with me for her strength and conditioning. So we were just doing a basic baseline assessment, just going over her movement capabilities and the requisites that she needs to have, doing some endurance style testing and seeing what her maximal oxygen uptake is, her bolt score, her body oxygen level test, and then just basic endurance testing, with the maximal aerobic power on the assault bike, seeing her VO2 max, and then also looking at lactate thresholds based off of what we see in her jumps in her heart rate. But it's just a baseline test, so again, it doesn't prove too much as far as how she's going to react inside the cage or the ring point. It's really just giving us an understanding of where she's at physically from a fitness standpoint and also from a movement standpoint. And then from there, I can alter the program depending upon what she got in that baseline assessment, and then do another assessment later on to see how much she's progressed. But right now, she's going through some things. She needs to get situated in Boca, right in Florida. She just moved out here, so she needs to get things situated. And once that happens, going full go. But I think it'll start next week. Obviously, I'm down a little bit. I'm not coaching like full time on the floor just because it's hard for me to move around a little bit. But yeah, I got a team of coaches now that are all there to help me out. I got a couple of assistants. I have a director of performance. So those guys help me out. I'm grateful for that. All the fighters are still being able to maintain their training.
Yeah.
Even not being there and being absent for the time being. But every now and again, like I said, I made my way down there today. And again, I still live 90 minutes from the gym. So it's a hike still. I'm on my way back now. But I love it, man. That was one thing that I would say from a business standpoint is like the passion that I have for what I do. Obviously, you can see it because of the fact that if I really didn't have passion for it, I'd ride this this surgery out, and I'd be like, oh man, I can't really go anywhere because I can't really move. But that's not the case. You got my one of my best friends is now one of my videographers, and he told his dad, he was like, how long do you think Phil's gonna be out? And he basically told him like, you know how he is. He's not gonna be able to be out of the gym for more than a week. And it hasn't even been 2 or 3 days. So I'm back in the gym, coaching my guys up as much as I possibly can, at least, and overseeing what my other coaches are doing, which is important too for me, because I want to be able to delegate some of that work so that, again, it can be self-sustaining without me having to be there 24/7. And even though I want to be there, sometimes I actually can't because I have other things I have to do when it comes down to building a business and building a brand. So, you want to be able to get to a point where you're not fully working in the gym or working in your business. You're working for the business, and that's where we're getting at. But again, like I said, I can't stay away for too long because it is my passion is to coach. So that's what it is.
You're a workaholic, man. I don't ever see you fucking switching off. Like, I don't know how you get so much shit done in your days. Like, what you do to maintain your drive as well. Obviously, you said this your passion, which helps you, but just do you plan and prepare beforehand?
Another thing is that I have so many people that rely on me. So it's not just me. It's my family. It's my guys that I coach. It's the guys that I help coach. It's my coaches that depend on me, or the people that are working for me, my employees. Those are the people that if I don't do my job, they can't get paid and they can't do what they need to do. And so it's not just a selfish thing. It's more of like, okay, now I'm looking at everybody else that needs my help, and I need to make sure that I'm on point every day and organized enough so that I can get the job done for everybody, not just myself. You know what I mean? So I think that's another driving factor, is that I have all these eyes and all these people that are dependent on me, not to mention 300 other coaches that are dependent on me to put out information for them so that they can be successful in their own business and in their own coaching. So I mean, there's a lot of factors there. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what gets me hobbling over to the gym, even though I have one leg right now.
How do you deal with the pressure of that though?
Because obviously they are relying on you.
You know what? I think I'm able to handle it because I'm a natural, and I hate to say this because it sounds cliche, but a natural born leader in a sense. I've always been a captain of all my teams. I've took to that coach's role pretty easy because I was always the person that got people to come to the gym. I was always that person to drag people out of their house to come play football, in the yard. So it was an easy transition for me. I'm a father. I think that helps too as well. Me being a head of a household, being a husband, being a father, that transitions into being a good business owner, a good coach. Somebody that people can rely on, and I just take that as for the opportunity to put myself in a position to be legendary in a sense. You know what I mean, and build a legacy that my kids can look after. And so my son, I think he's sleeping now. Is he sleeping? He's knocked out. Knocked out. But so he can look at me because he goes to the gym and he sees me coaching these high level athletes, and he looks at that as, okay, my dad helps these guys out and he's always on point, and at least he can take that with him in life. So I'm setting the example every day with my actions, and that's something that I don't take lightly. So I think that with that being said, the burden or the weight of me having to take on all these roles doesn't really bother me because I was built for this.
You've probably just turned little Leonardus into a meme now. he was gone. How important do you think mobility is for performance, and why?
I think mobility sets the baseline of movement capacity. So if anything, you have to have active in-range control to do any type of movement. And if you don't have mobility or flexibility and strength in ranges, then it's going to be very hard for you to have that that active space to do something in a forceful way, per se. You know what I mean? So you need to have that quality working space in each joint capsule to allow you to produce force, absorb force, redirect force, things of that nature. So I would say that sets the baseline. You need to build mobility, then you need to build stability, then you need to build strength on top of that. So for me, I think that's a cornerstone. That's the baseline that we need to understand and get before we start to develop, more strength and start to develop more power output and things of that nature. Now it's easier said than done. You only have a limited amount of time, a small window in time to get all this stuff done. So I think that's why a conjugated concurrent style of an approach would be necessary for an MMA athlete or a combat sport athlete because they're always competing. There's really no off season, and when there is, it's very short lived. And that's why I developed that off camp program because I wanted to gain the mobility. I wanted to gain the conditioning that we need to, so that once we get into those higher level movements, we're capable of doing that without putting them at risk of injury.
It's mad, isn't it? Like, because I think a lot of people neglect that with their training. They just turn up, think they can crack on, and it's like, no, man, we've got to make sure you're mobile, you're warm, you're ready to move, you're ready to go before we even start the hard work.
I know, yeah, no, and it goes with my dynamic warm up. But it goes with my dynamic warm up. It goes with the activation series that I use for the athlete. He's up now. Look, he's out of here. Bye, bud. Say bye. All right. He's out. Play now. See, 0-60, 0-60 every day.
He's learning from the best.
Yeah. So, I still got the hospital bracelets on. So with that, like when we start our warm ups, that's the main focus in the beginning is to gain range of motion, right? To activate muscles, activate mechanoreceptors that we need to allow for force production to occur in any range possible that we're working in that particular time frame, or anything that's going. Let's say, for instance, a skills training. We need to make sure that we have the ability to rotate. We need to have the ability to hinge and extend. And if we're blocked by tight tissue or joints that don't have that range, then you're going to compensate. And when you compensate, that's usually when you end up tearing a muscle or tearing, tendon off the bone. And that's going to be the problem is not so much, under preparing. It's not preparing fully, and not taking in consideration the fact that you need to have that full range of motion in order for you to produce or display force. So hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no. I mean, for me, just a question for yourself is obviously I really struggle with my mobility. Like as much as I try and work it, I don't seem to improve. And I've been talking probably about 5 months now. I've been really trying to work on my mobility, and I don't know why, but someone said maybe it's because I've got a poor posterior chain and poor posture when I walk. So everything kind of just it just goes back to normal every day.
Well, it doesn't matter how much you actually work at it. It has to be sustainable, right?
Mm.
So, right, if you're going back into that reflection state, or again, your posture is poor because you have a weak posterior chain, then it doesn't matter how much mobility you did in 30 minutes or an hour. You're doing this all around 24/7. So if your walking is bad, if you're sitting, you're sitting or standing is not optimal, then you're staying more time in that position, in those positions, than you are when you're doing your mobility work, right?
Yeah.
So again, you have to look at your day to day, and be cautious of how you're standing, how you're walking, how you're sitting, things of that nature. And that will help you understand like what positions you need to be in that are going to help display better postural alignment and awareness. And that's the key concept. And then again, it just depends on what mobility training you're actually doing, right? I do believe in isometrics. I believe in putting yourself in end ranges and being flexible first, because you have to get into the range, and then you have to activate the muscles in that range, right? So again, like I always put in concepts of like, in jiu-jitsu, it's like guys are very flexible. They can get stacked and be able to put their legs over their head and their toes touching the floor, but they don't have the strength there in their posterior chain to allow them to to extend out of that position. So they have no structural integrity. They have no strength there in that end range, and ultimately they're going to get stacked and passed because again they're weak in that position. They may be able to get in that position, but they don't have the strength to stabilize themselves in that position. And what ends up happening is that if the muscle is being stretched in a position that they can't handle, then one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to have tissue tearing, something that happened from an injury standpoint, or again, your body's going to lock up and seize. And if it doesn't, the Golgi tendons theory, really, if you stretch a muscle to its extent to where it cannot get to anywhere further, then the body will lock up, right? And then you don't have that active control, and you won't get in that position. You'll end up tearing something or hurting something down the line. So what the goal really, again, is, again, you want to make sure that you have flexibility. Then when you get that flexibility, make sure you're strong in that flexibility range. And that's what mobility really is having the ability to control those end ranges, right? And flow through those end ranges. That's how you can display mobility, is where, you see like movement specialists like Ido Portal or something like that. Ido is a great mover, but he's just displaying movement. He's displaying mobility. He's not training mobility, That's why, like, you need to be able to get in a position and be strong and stabilize that position. You want to work things like progressive and regressive angular isometrics. You want to work things like, end range liftoffs and end range hovers. And this is all somewhat FRC or functional range conditioning principles. But I do believe that those principles carry further than just the basic understanding of mobility. I think that this carries over into any type of training that you want to acquire. But again, you have to have the joint prerequisites to do higher levels of intensity. And what I mean by intensity is, I mean increasing load, right? So if I'm talking, 50, 60%, I'm talking 50, 60% of your 1 rep max, right? So if I can get into a range and I can increase the intensities through that range, well, now I have the active end range control, and now I can increase the strength in that end range, and that increases performance and athleticism. So again, we go back to the mobility thing, is that's going to set the baseline of your abilities to get stronger in ranges that are going to be conducive or directly correlated to the sport.
Have you ever thought about writing a Daru Strong encyclopedia? Do you know what I mean?
Man,
Fucking put it out there. Be about 4,000 pages.
I don't think people say that, but I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I don't know. I feel like how I talk. I mean, I'm not. I hope people understand this is how I talk on a daily basis. It's not something that I'm just writing up to sound smart or some shit. honestly, I'm very, listen, I'm not a big, like, I won't put out big words just to put them out there. Like, I don't talk with a huge vocabulary. Like, I just know what I know, you know, so that makes it sound like if you're talking about this, I know what I know, right? But there's so many different, like, and we're talking about, like, I don't know, we're talking about real estate, then it's a whole different concept. You know? My wife will kill me on that. With all that vocabulary. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about half the time, you know, but you know, when it comes down to this, yeah, it's something that I take pride in, and I'll learn as much as I possibly can. Deep knowledge in what I'm, you know, quote unquote, trying to be an expert in. You know?
Yeah, no, I meant it from a standpoint of you. I don't know if you ever, well, you probably have seen it. Arnie did the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Oh
And it was
shit,
more
yeah,
from
yeah.
an educational standpoint. Yeah, it wasn't like meant to, I mean, I'll have the banter with you, of course. I'm always willing for that. But yeah, it was more from like a point of maybe for those other coaches or people that you are coaching, getting that, you know, almost book of encyclopedia of movement patterns and things like that. And, you know, like Arnie did basically.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good guys out there that specialize in. I think Dr. Andre Ospina would be the first to put that out there. He's the guy that kind of almost invented well, did invent FRC. I mean, so I would think that for me, that would be important, you know. But I don't know. Maybe in due time, could probably write it up.
I've got a last question for you, anyways, because I know you want to get out. I think you're back home now. What future projects have you got lined up for yourself? Where's the Daru Strong brand going next?
I mean, honestly, bro, like right now, we're just trying to focus on the mentorship. You know, that's the main focus, is build that mentorship up as much as possible. You know, get it to a point where we have well over 500 coaches. It's a certification course. You know, and then build the gym, build my you know, my local gym here in Boca Raton, Florida, and get as many fighters as we possibly can. Obviously, we have Paige, you know, Dustin's back, Joanna's coming. You know, I just want to have the ability to coach the guys and girls that I want to coach and have fun with it. So that's the main focus right now. You know, the apparel line, like building out, you know, the shirts and the shorts and all that stuff, that's going to come in due time. Again, I don't want to put my focus in too many different things at the moment. I want to be focused on one or two things and be really, really good at that, you know, and then we can spread it out over time. You know, definitely going to have shirts and some merchandise that you guys can purchase and things of that nature. If you want to rep the brand, by all means, thank you. I appreciate that. That'll be on my website, and we'll go further down the line once I feel like, you know, the mentorship and everything else is self-sustaining. You know, then we'll start to branch off and to do more things like that. But yeah, for the focus point right now is going to be that mentorship, you know, the programs that I have out, and then building my gym business, and that's my primary right now.
Are you going to give me the scoop on Dustin and who his next opponent is? Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be Tony.
We really don't know. Obviously, that's almost the only thing that's left. That's the only guy that's left. So yeah, I mean, that's a possibility for sure. But again, we really don't know. I know that, I mean, Dustin hasn't, because of my knee, he hasn't came in yet. He's been just basically helping guys out at ATT and doing some boxing training, but he just can't get away from training for too long. You know, he's kind of like me, you know, with that. So he's just back, just kind of moving around with the guys, and we'll get him in doing some strength and conditioning pretty soon.
Man, I love this fight with Dan Hooker.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I knew that was gonna be a good fight just from Dan and how he does his thing, and you know how Dustin is with, you know, his fighting ability, and they're like true fighters. So it was good to see, you know, and I was glad that obviously Dustin came out the winner. So good though.
Okay, bro. Well, thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to add on to the end at all?
Nothing, man. If you guys are interested, let me know. If you guys are coaches out there and want to get involved and see how the mentorship runs, and go ahead and check them out. You guys can give my team a call, and they can run you through kind of like the rundown of everything and how it goes, and you know, go from there. But that's about it. Check out my website, darustrong.com. And if you haven't checked out my Instagram or my YouTube, go to Phil Daru Strong. You can check out my YouTube. I got plenty of videos there too as well.
free content that you're pumping out as well, so people can obviously check that out and follow it, because you are offering a lot for free, which is good. I think it shows your knowledge.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, man.
Get that encyclopedia done, bro.
All right, man.
Have a safe recovery. I'll chat with you. I'll send you a DM after this anyways, but recover properly, man. Don't work too hard.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
Take care, man.
All right.
And there we go. That was Daru Strong. Apologise, obviously, for the audio at the beginning. I'm not sure whether it came through clear or not, but through my headphones, it was a little bit up and down. Thanks for tuning in. Drop me a follow on the JB podcast. I used to have 12,000 followers and a little bit more than that, but obviously I had to start a new account because for some reason, I don't know what happened with my account, but Instagram fucked it, basically. Anyways, yeah, cool. Thank you for tuning in.